Hey everybody, welcome back to Tomcat Zone. We start into the night turn of day 2, game turn 6. Just want to apologize. For anybody that has watched any of these videos thus far, I've never done this stuff before, and I apologize if it's choppy. If I don't have editing software, I haven't gotten that far with anything. Everybody might never get that far with anything. I just wanted to try this out, and I had all these game save files, and nowhere out there was any fleet videos for the most part that I could find. Anyway, I just noticed when I watched back through some of my videos, it got real choppy, and there's some scenes where I'm talking and the expectation is that the screen is moving while I'm talking, and it turns out that when I do the playback, it takes a couple minutes for the screen to move to where I was. So I did a little bit of research, and hopefully the suggestions made on the different websites are going to stop those pauses and breakdowns and stuff like that. So anyway, if you've been watching and enduring this stuff, hey, I thank you and I appreciate your time. Hope you're enjoying this stuff. And bottom line, let's see if I'll keep on working to make them better. And as the content continues into maybe even another fleet battle game. Anyway, as I said, we start into turn 6 here, which is the evening turn of game day 2, and I don't have a log file, so we're just going to be going through the notes that were taken, I should say, the night that we played. As you can see, based on the action segment counters that were placed, the Allies won the initiative again off the start, much to Scott's chagrin. And I started with vessels, surface ships. He followed up with air. So let's see what happened here. We're just going to kind of scroll around the map and talk a little bit about what happened. It, I think, was a pretty good round for me. So with no log to process, all we have are the notes. The Allies win the initiative, start with the surface. I just said this. Okay, the French, recognizing that they are being isolated from the rest of the fleet in Socotra there, they were up here just south of Salalah, using their aircraft to defend that base. But in the end of the last turn, you'll see here, let me go to the French here, that although they are unscathed at this time, all the ships are unscathed, they do have a local detection marker on them. And the reason they do is last turn, Scott moved in his Yemen PC patrol craft. Good attack ships, but they did not have the strength to, or did not, as they moved closer, their whole, he moved them, but he didn't have local detection on the task force, so he couldn't attack it. With the onset of the new turn, we test for local detection, and both ships saw each other, obviously. And so the French attacked the Yemen patrol craft, and as you can see here under PCs, his Yemen, oh, that's my kills, excuse me, right here, his Yemen patrol craft is destroyed. The problem, though, is the local detection marker was placed. Local detection markers are not removed until after all 3 action segments are performed. Both sides, all type of units are able to go, and then local detection removal. So unfortunately, the French are located. And so, needless to say, it's time for me to bug them out. I moved quickly as fast. Oh, they can move 3. I moved 3. Oh, actually, they can move 4 because they have no slow ships with them. They move 4 to go south towards their allies here over in the Gulf of Oman. Excuse me. Still a number of days, about a day from each other in travel. But again, hopefully their goal was to get away. At least put some space between his Task Force 1, which is right here, again locally detected because of the turbulent, and his Task Force 3. heavy-duty warships there. The Soviets got some serious punch. We talked about that last turn. Anyway, hold on a second real quick. Sorry about that. I had a window pop open. I don't know what it was. I'm just seeing if it was anything to do with my capture software. Up in the Persian Gulf. Task Group 12 keeps pushing north. Their goal is Kuwait City. There's no more airbase in Kuwait City. The Soviets did a good job at decimating the Kuwaiti Air Force as well as their base that they land at. But that's okay. As long as my task group is not detected and as long as I stay under that air wing coverage from I think it's Al-Manarna, it will be safe up to the next turn to move it under or into the port and get the objective points. Down here we see that the Chaika has finally been hit. My Task Force 14, which is made up of a bunch of fast frigates, I believe. Yep, fast frigates. Pretty good at ASW, 9 total points there, but needless to say, they finally punched a hole in that ship. And the others keep moving south. As you can see here, Task Force 8, which is also moving up into the Gulf, has finally crossed over into air coverage of Abu Dhabi and Dubai. So that gives me some freedom now for the Task Force 4 and the Lincoln and her Tomcats to finally move out of the Gulf of Oman. Most of the ships that were trying to get up into the Gulf of Oman have made it. The British are about to dispatch the amphibs into Muscat, and that's great because the New Orleans and her 3 sister ships there are going to dock, unload, bring troops into the Omani port, and you free up the British for becoming an offensive group instead of babysitter. Still need to get the full tankers that are being escorted by the Lincoln out to sea, and that's the next task here at hand. As you can see, a lot of submarines in this area, and both Pakistani and U.S. as well as the Soviets. I've got the Gas Prince and the Sea Giant here unescorted, still trying to make their way up into the Gulf. We'll see how they do. Continuing down here, let's check my notes real quick if there was anything else to see. See, the French drew away from Salalah. We talked about that. This after killing the Yemen PC. We talked about that. Task Force 2 we talked about. I'm sorry, I'm just going through the notes here. Anyway, one of the things I wanted to point out is I keep bottlenecking the Gulf with minesweepers and stuff. Scott told me I was being a little gamey with this, and I have to say yes, he's certainly correct, but excuse me, he's welcome to bring those shiny Alfas up here into the Persian Gulf and try and swim them underneath all these vessels that are, they fill the Gulf. There's tons of ships that fill the Gulf constantly. So choke points are choke points. His submarines, though, can only move a number of spaces. And even at fast speed, this Chaika can only go 2, and that blocks that port. Now, the Indian vessel, of course, could swim under all my ships without problems. But anyway, he pointed that out to me, and not that I don't agree, but hey, I'm going to use every possible defense I've got. Last turn, I actually forget to move these 2 empty tankers. Well, no, this turn. You're going to see they're still sitting here next to the Nogan, and I forgot to move them. So in a future turn, you're going to see me move ships, and Scott was cool about that. He understood. So we continue south here along our map. We're going to go over to the western side of it. And we go down to Diego Garcia. You can see Diego Garcia now has, let's see, 3 damage, but we'll talk about that here in a second. In Diego, we did land more convoys. Task Force 10, which was just here in 0255 last turn, is now made port in Diego, and you'll see on the Allied unload page that we have 5 ships unloaded for a total of 50 points of victory points. Pretty cool. Task Group 13 is still making its way, but it's a slow go. Task Force 6, I've been moving it south, and east to bring air cover to Task Group 13. There are no detection markers on her right now, but Scott has been measuring out to that group with his bombers out of Kamran, and let's just say I don't want any more fast frigates sunk by bombers or the convoy ships themselves sunk by bombers. These 2 SNs are being a trouble. I need to punch a hole in these guys. If we continue a little further, you guys are going to see finally the Task Force 5 has made it to within three hexes of Great Nicobar. The 3 hexes around Great Nicobar are objective hexes for me. With the new turn, with the next action segment that not the new action segment, but the next actual game day, in the morning, basically, the amphibious assault vessels will be able to leave. So in the dark at night hours here, the Ranger has finally made her destination, which is great. Once she releases those amphibious assault vessels, she too can become an offensive force instead of this defensive babysitter that I've been having to deal with. That's really much everything I had going on with my surface vessels. As you can see, this Task Group 3 has been escorting Ranger off her port, or not port, but bottom line, staying close in to the air support of the Task Force 5 as well, because of these bombers out of Kamran. The Soviets then, with their action segment here, number 2, they launch air. Soviets launch airstrikes. Diego Garcia's hit again. As you saw a few minutes ago, we have a damage 2 on Diego. Okay, that's not terrible. The bummer thing is now my B-52 bomber force will be out of play for another day, essentially. At the end of this turn, we will get to do a repair phase, which will drop the Diego Garcia damage icon down to 1. That means I got 3 full turns, or another full day until the next repair phase, which will eliminate the damage marker altogether and thus free up the B-52s. The problem is the F-15s have landed. I don't have any air cover. So guess who's down south there is going to need to provide air cover, and that's the Enterprise. So you're going to see again as I move in the next turn, a new day, the Enterprise has to move back the direction she just left to provide air cover to Diego Garcia. Again, I still got plenty of game time left, but not taking advantage of the directions I need to be moving, it becomes crippling and detrimental as the game progresses here, as I have to rush and move across waters I might not wanted to prior. Continuing on here, so the Soviets attacked Diego, hit it again. Salalah up here in Oman is hit. I pulled the French away, and he took advantage of that, struck Salalah again for now it's 3 damage. That base is pretty much going to be destroyed. I'll be losing those tornadoes, the Jags, and that Orion reconnaissance aircraft. Nothing I can do. I can't even launch them out to get them to a new airbase because we can't activate aircraft. First of all, up here because of command failures. Second, up here because the base itself is destroyed. Masira has been hit. looking at the location of my ships right now, I'm wondering how Masira got hit, because maybe it was a cruise missile strike with his subs. I don't have a log file to determine that. He might have gotten bombers in. Well, actually, he did not activate his subs this turn. I don't. Maybe Masira was damaged last turn. I don't know. Masira's damaged though and has a hit marker on it. Something happened there, and that's could be. He might. Maybe he could have snuck a bomber in through here, flown it around. From Ras Karma and down, hit the base. And yes, there's air support or combat air patrols over here, but I can't remember the specifics of that. I don't have any notes on it. But bottom line is Masira is now damaged. Maybe, like I said, it might have been carryover from the previous turn. And also in Task Force 2, the Manitoic is sunk. So somewhere in the middle there, between last turn and this turn, I lost some placement in my notes, but bottom line is the Manitoic is on the kill list, and so she is no longer viable for points for me. Okay, and I want to bring up something else here real quick. As you continue to watch my videos here, you're going to, and specifically my side, you're going to see as cap markers change numerically and task forces are redesignated continuously, and it's for no other reason than I just like to keep things up towards the top of the battle map here in the task force display. It's just when I'm scrolling down, I like to consolidate everything to the top so I don't have to do as much scrolling. So if you see Task Force 4 is all of a sudden Task Force 2, that's the reason why later on. All right, that's pretty much everything that happened in this first action segment, 2 action segments. Let me bring up the next file. All right, we continue. I got a log file now, and we'll be able to see what goes on here. Okay, dice are rolled. Scott gets the initiative to start the next action segment here. No. I'm looking at my notes. Excuse me. We won the initiative. Okay, so the Allies win the initiative again. I go with subs, and let's see what my subs are able to do this turn. All right, the Casablanca moves around into a position I probably should have left her more to the center of the Gulf of Aden, and that would have given him harder, a wider berth to move Task Force 2 around. Because if the sub had been left, say, here, all these hexes from 12-13 counterclockwise around would have been area he couldn't have moved through, because of if he moved those surface vessels through there, he would have been detected. So here in 10-15 and over here in 14-13 would have been the only locations he could have moved those ships across, and to get them out of the Gulf of Aden. Those are the convoy vessels that need to get to Ras Karma. He's really close. He's going to get some good points from it, and I have nothing to stop him. All I can kind of do is harass him with the Casablanca and hopefully get her close enough to pull off a shot. But understand, for subs to get the best torpedo shot on anything surface-wise, they need to be undetected. Otherwise, when you look at the combat summary here on torpedo combat, if the sub is detected, +2 to the defense dial if the attacking submarine has a local or strategic marker. I don't want to give them 2 more points of potential defense roll value to move, to fend off my torpedo attack. So needless to say, I keep moving the Casablanca back and forth here. She probably should have stayed to the center of the Gulf and made it more difficult for him to move around. But it is what it is. Again, we live and learn. All right, Turbulent over here in Socotra. Turbulent is going to attack Task Force 3 with 22 torpedo value. 19 points are fired on the Dzerzhinsk, and the remaining 3 points are on Slow Convoy 5. He gets a +2 to his dice roll. That DDR should be just DR for defense, defense dice roll for task group. Wait a second. It's a task force. So he gets a +2 to the defense die roll for his, that should be a TF for task force. And he also gets +2 because the turbulent has a local marker on her. All right. So his ASW value is 12. That's the column we're going to go to when we look at the CRT. He's going to roll the dice and add 4 to it. We see what he, oh, go back. We go to the next turn here, and it's just taking, okay. So he rolls a 3. That is a -5 to my attack roll. Let's go to the CRT and look to make sure that I didn't, because I just clicked the dice here. He rolled a 3, add 4 to that as a 7, over to 12. That is a -5 to my attack roll. That is exactly right. So at -5, I roll for my attacks. I roll a 9 against, and I always do usually the larger attack first. As it says here, is first the 19 and then the 3. So I roll a 9 on the 19 and I roll a 9 on the 5. Beautiful set of rolls. Can't get better than that. But we make the look here. The Dzerzhinsk at 9 on the attack roll, -5, and my torpedo value is 19. 9 minus 5 is a 4. 4 on the 19 is a 4. The Dzerzhinsk has 3 defense points here. If we look at the Dzerzhinsk, where is she at? Task group 3, the Dzerzhinsk. She has 3 defense points here. So when I do 4 points of damage to her, she blows up completely. 9 minus 5 on the other column is a 4. 4 at 3, so we've got a 4 at 3, and you'll see it was a big donut. So the Convoy 5 is not damaged, but one of his defensive ships is taken out. So what we'll see here is, boom, the Dzerzhinsk blows up, and we proceed to move his ships, cluster them closer. The cool thing is now, 1, 2, 3. Never mind, he's still a task force. He's a task group now because he's just been lowered. And we go, you see the turbulent races away. And I left that as a task force. That should have been flipped over as a task group. That might stymie me later. Let's see. Anyway, as I said, Scott let me move those 2 empty tankers that I forgot last turn. The Mont Rivers makes her attack against the Noggin right here. And I rolled a 1. Of course I rolled a 1. No effect. I test for detection. I roll a 6. Thank God. No detection. Okay, my Pakistani subs will now attack the Alfas. Roll a 0 there. First Pakistani ship misses. Thanks, babe. I roll a 2. Second Pakistani ship misses. And I roll a 2. Third Pakistani ship misses. Of course. None are effective. I would also move each after the attacks, and you'll see that normally you would attack and then move, but I forgot. Okay, the Seawolf makes an attack on the Alfas. The Seawolf has a 10 ASW value, much better percentages to kill. I roll a 6, and the Alfas takes a torpedo amidships, and she is dropped into the depths of the North Arabian Sea zone with no one to mourn her. Well, maybe. And the Seawolf then travels towards Pakistani coast. All right, the Haddock moves. Again, I kind of picket these 3 ships against his own line of submarines. The Key West has 1 more cruise missile attack. I want to kill this Adu Atoll. So we fire on the Adu Atoll with a 12 value. I roll a 0. So the missiles, excuse my expletive there, the missiles fall harmlessly into the sea, and the base continues to exist through the night. The Albany moves to attack the Shulka with 10 ASW value. I roll a 6. The Shulka is hit. I test for detection, and I get a 0. Of course, my technological wonders, the Miami and the Albany, are found when they fire their torpedoes by some diesel boat, right? Isn't that great? Anyway, we continue. Miami attacks the Shilka with a 10 ASW value. I roll a 4, which is no effect. Test for detection, -3, -2 is a 1, and the Miami is found as well. The Sea Lion moves at full speed. The Baton Rouge will attack the Apakov here. I want to slow these ships of his down. I've got a 9 ASW value. We fire, we hit with an 8, and the Apakov takes damage. The Baton Rouge then runs at full speed up into the Bay of Bengal. That was all we had for my subs. Let me open up the next map to see where we continue. Okay, we don't have a log file for the next 2 action segments, but we can see here that after I did my submarines, he followed up with his own submarines. We roll for initiative in the final action segment of the turn, and I win initiative again, and I will be activating air. So all I have to go with is notes right now. So I want to briefly go over the notes, and then we'll look at the map for the analysis here. Hold on one second. So in action segment 4 and 5, Scott activates his subs to end the action cycle. Wait a second here. Yeah, end the action cycle 3 and 4. So he activates his subs. Basically in the kill box here, you can see that he doesn't have any luck with any kills based on the new counters in the Soviet kill box. Let's see here from the save file. Based on the new no new encounters in the Soviet kill box, he did not sink any ships, but he did damage some. Okay, if we go here and we look in the South Arabian Sea, you'll see the Nogan moved again to intercept and kill the Sea Giant and the Gas Prince. He didn't kill either of them, but he did damage the Sea Giant. Both those ships are wounded now. I don't know if they're going to make it to the Gulf of Oman. The Ghazi, this Pakistani boat, was hit here. But what is most important in all of his actions with his sub-turn is down here in Sumatra. And I knew it was going to happen. There was really nothing I could do about it. My Vikings never found her. I should have taken the Kakra, I should say, to look for her. But the Yakorj, if that's how this ship is pronounced, the Yakorj, a small, diesel boat, moved out, and he placed her right next to my surface ships. Didn't attack, and that's not the big deal. But with the new turn, when I move, even though, let's see here, I've already moved surface vessels. So with the new game turn, we will have to test for local detection. And unfortunately, any surface vessels in a limited detection zone, which is the hexes around a submarine, are immediately detected. So the Ranger is going to become detected, and she's far from anybody that can give her help. There's very little aircraft, land-based aircraft to help her here, and she has few in the way of submarines to help defend. All we have is the Sea Lion and the Baton Rouge up here, and this Task Group 3 has become little more than a couple patrol craft at this point. So that right there was an inevitability. I know it was an inevitability. I probably should have, the night before, I should have sailed my ships up into the Bay of Bengal and dropped off the amphibious assaults on their own and let them sail closer to Great Nicobar, because they would have still been within 3 hexes of that base. And so Task Force 5, there would have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4. No, that's an ammunition ship. Oiler, cargo, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's the 5th one. It would have been 5 amphibious assault ships that could have made that quick jump to Great Nicobar by themselves, and the the Ranger could have been up here by herself and not have that diesel boat beside her. But again, this all tracks back to the start. I probably should have been thinking more in terms of consolidation and bringing more ships together when I had the opportunity. Combined arms would have been smarter, bringing those subs, maybe the Albany and the Miami this way. Although the Albany started at Diego, could have been a little bit more thought process at that instead of racing south immediately. I am going to get the. I know I'm going to get the victory points for those amphibious assault vessels. That's not even a question. The problem is this boat, this task force is now detected, and she's going to be easy pickings for bombers and the countless subs he has in the area. Well, not countless, but you get my drift. So that was a bummer. Nothing I could do about it, though. I follow up with my initiative win, as I said, after he rolled, or after he did his subs. We roll for initiative. All I have left to activate is air. Diego Garcia is shut down because of damage. So my B-52s, my Orions, my F-111 bombers, all these things that I have up here are not going anywhere until that airstrip is back in order. Down here in Indonesia, and what I have on the Ranger and on the Enterprise are the only aircraft I can activate this turn, as everything else is, as if we remember, under command failure. So none of my aircraft up north can even do anything. The Lincoln, even her aircraft can do nothing except cap missions. So I can't even hunt the subs around me with my S3 Vikings up there. Anyway, so I activate my air. There's little to show for it. In fact, I know there's nothing to show for it because there's nothing in the Soviet kill or the Allied kill box for any subs. The Ovsenko and the Lunchkey we sank prior, and all these other ships we sank prior. So there was really nothing that I was able to achieve with my Orions out of Indonesia and my Vikings off of the two carriers. The Adu Atoll is far out of range for the Enterprise now to launch her A6s to finalize that base and kill that thing. I was kind of hoping the B-52s would be able to do that, but unfortunately I moved the Enterprise too far south. I don't think even with aerial refueling that she would be able to, at range 15. Huh. Would they have? Let's see. The Enterprise's A6s have a 24 range. If we doubled that, or not doubled it, but if we did aerial refueling, that would give 50% more at 36. That would have been 18 range. I could have hit that base. For whatever reason, I never attacked and killed the Adu Atoll. That wasn't very smart. Okay, and that's pretty much everything I can go over with this map. Let's bring up the last one. All right, so we come to the last map for our game turn here. And it was the Soviets' last action segment, I should say. All he had left was surface. So what we see here is Task Force 2 does maneuver around my submarines. As you can see with his subs, he barricaded the Casablanca in. Anyway, his Task Force 2 maneuvers around. He's got them in a key position now to head south. They move at a speed of 3, 1. In two game turns, he's going to have them in Ras Karma, and those ships will, all 4 of them in Task Force 2, 1, 2, 3, and 4. All 4 of his slow convoy vessels will be there for him to get those victory points. I kind of screwed the pooch on that one, messed up. But anyway, what's worse is here's what we see now. Task Force 1 did what I thought it was going to do. It came racing across here, the Socotra zone, just to within 2 range of the located French, and he fired a huge barrage of surface-to-surface missiles And what we see here, let's look at what he's capable of. He's got the Kalinin with 20. Those missiles had a range of 5, but he still got close enough to do them at 2. He had the Ustinov at 16. He had the Lichny with 14. The Golovko at 15, and the Zazulia at 15. All these ships for a grand total of 20, 36, 50, 64, 79, 94 points, and 94 surface-to-surface missile attack on the Clemenceau and her escorts. And the Clemenceau and her escorts are truly not that strong alone, even with air support. So what we see here is the Jean Bart and the Clemenceau herself take hits. Nothing is sunk, fortunately, but my first carrier is hit, and needless to say, morale kind of slipped a little bit at the end of this turn for mistakes that were made. When you look at the attack, we haven't really talked about a surface-to-surface missile attack before. We added up his points there. He had 94 points to attack with. Well, first, before we do that, we go to the defender and see what their defending is. And first of all, before anything, he has to roll a dice to determine where his missiles lock on, basically. The top of the stack or the lower half of the stack. Sometimes it could be a worse failure. If you rolled a 0 or a 9, it means I choose which ship is locked onto and how much of what and all that. So bottom line is he obviously got the top of the stack, which is what he wanted because that gave him the Clemenceau. I'm going to flip these counters over real quick just so you can see what they had prior. So then on a missile attack, we add up all area air. That's this number here, the lower right outside number. I only have 4 points total. Okay. Then we add in on the ships he's attacking. He chose to hit both the Clemenceau and the Jean Bart. I don't remember in what increments because we don't have a log file here, but it was enough, obviously. But the Jean Bart then would have 4, and then you would add in the 6 for 10. The Clemenceau would have the 4 because this is area air. It covers the whole task force. But then it has its close-in defense of 5. And it gets, oh, no, we do have a 3 here. So we had 7. So the Jean Bart would have had 7 for the 3 and the 4, and then 6. Okay? So that would have given her a 13 defense, and I'll tell you what that means here in a second. The Clemenceau then would have had a 7 plus the 5 for 12, but you also get to add in the ship directly underneath the ship, which would have been either the 3 or the Clemenceau. Hey, I gotta remember it. I'm sorry. Top of the stack is over here. So yes, the Duquesne would have been underneath the Clemenceau. So it would have been 12 plus another 3 or 15. So the defense column for the Clemenceau would have been 15. The defense column for the Jean Bart would have been 13. But now you got to see that the predominant attack of 20, 16, 14, 14, 15, and 15, 30 points here, but the predominant part of the attack all have this little white missile arrow next to them. That means those are fast missiles, and fast missiles cut your close-in or area air. I think it's the area air. Bottom line is it cuts the defense in half, portion of the defense. Whether I'd have to look it up. Well, we can look it up real quick. Since we're talking about it, let's look it up. It's been a while. So fast missiles, sea skimmers are one kind. If the attack is a fast SSM attack, the close anti-air value of the surface units that are being attacked are halved. So the close air, so that's the number, not the one on the outer, but the one on the inner. So this 5 and this 3, 8 points would have been turned to 4. So in truth, instead of having 4, 7, 12, 18, he had 4, 7 plus 4 would have been 11. So the Clemenceau went from an 18 defense column to an 11 defense column. What's all this mean? I'm sorry, guys, if I'm confusing you. Hopefully, we're all experienced enough to know what I'm talking about. But basically, what this means is instead of being in the 14 to 18 column for the Clemenceau's defense, she went down to 11, 10 to 11. And the Jean Bart, instead of being in the 13 column, he went down here to the 7 to 9. It steps down their defenses, and it's pretty tremendous. These fast missiles come in too fast for the anti missile systems to be able to kill them fast enough before they hit. So anyway, he rolled enough, obviously. Once I rolled my defense, he rolled his attack, and we saw that both ships were flipped, which means they were both hit. Fortunately, they weren't killed. They're still active, but needless to say, morale dropped a little bit when we saw our first carrier take a punch. So the Virat over here, just to continue this conversation, the Virat keeps pushing north into the Arabian Sea to add her air and her attack values into the mix-up here. I will say that one thing we forgot to talk about, we haven't looked at the Indians much, but earlier when my Pakistani patrol craft had sailed south, they ended up on the kill board because the Virat and her group killed them. But as you can see here, not before my patrol craft had hit this ship. So the Indians have a carrier that's damaged too, and that's a good thing. I just forgot to bring that up earlier. We haven't really paid much attention to the Indian task forces because they've kind of just been sailing along on the peripheries of all of the action right now. So anyway, the Virat continues its run north into the to interdict all my ships up here in the Gulf of Oman and their exit out of the Gulf of Oman. That's it. Lastly, the combined Indian-Soviet forces down here in Sumatra. He pushes them forward. As you can see here, I've got a long line of enemies all around me, and the Ranger and her escorts and 2 patrol craft plus a damaged Sea Lion diesel boat and a healthy but small, quiet Indonesian diesel boat. That's all I've got down here to help us bust our way out of this corner of the map. And unfortunately, I think in game day 3, as we see it happen, we're going to see that the overwhelming numbers are too much for the Ranger. Not to give away anything, but as you can see just by this image on the map, I've maneuvered myself into a position that I don't think I'm going to be getting out of. All right, that's game turn 6, and that was the end of our 3rd day. The next video will start into game turn 7, but going through day 3. I'm going to make 3 videos for that one as well, covering each turn in a video. So I hope you enjoyed watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. I'm going to watch it myself to make sure that all the kind of pauses and freezes are no longer doing what they were doing. Hopefully that solved that issue. But I'll talk to you with the next video.